Go ahead. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Purivajaka Ashtotar the Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Purivajaka Ashtotar the Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavindra Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. So before we read the Srimad Bhagavatam, we'll read something about Srimad Bhagavatam from the famous Samadhi's book. Srimad Bhagavatam appeared in 1238 AD near Udupi, Karnataka in South India. He was considered an incarnation of Vayu, the wind god. He had an unusually strong physique and extraordinary intellectual power. Once a fierce Bengali tiger attacked Madhvacharya's sannyas disciple Satyatirtha. Madhvacharya wrestled the tiger and sent him away with his tail between his legs. Madhvacharya took Diksha at age 5, sannyas at age 12, and left home. He appeared with a mission to fight and defeat Shankara's Mayavad impersonal philosophy. By giving a pure interpretation of the Vedanta Sutra, he promoted pure theism. He named his innovative Shastric explanation Dvaita Dvaitavad, pure dualism. After Shankaracharya, who had previously toured India spreading impersonalism, Madhvacharya also traveled the length and breadth of India, preaching personal theism and devotion to Lord Vishnu. He defeated innumerable Jains, Buddhists, Mayavadis, atheists, logicians, and agnostics. With the hope of meeting Srila Vyasadeva himself, Madhvacharya walked up the Himalayas. Vyasadeva, he met him. Vyasadeva gave him a Shalagram Shila called Ashtamurti, approved his Bhagavad Gita commentary, and blessed Madhvacharya with deeper realizations of the Shastras. In Udupi, Madhvacharya installed a beautiful deity of Gopal standing alone, holding a cowherding stick. This deity manifested from within a chunk, big chunk, of Gopi Chandan, sacred clay. He established 8 months, or temples, to lovingly serve Udupi Krishna. The sannyasi leaders of each mat worshipped the Krishna deity with a rigorous regimen of ceremonial ritual, punctuality, and impeccable personal conduct. Every Ekadashi, they observe Nirjal, total fast, all from all food and water. The Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya originates with the Madhvas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers thoroughly studied Madhva's works before compiling their philosophy. For the Shat Sandarbhas, Sri Jiva Goswami drew heavily from Madhva's writings. Jiva Goswami found, can we close the door? We don't need, I think we have enough air. Thank you. Jiva Goswami found the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy of Achintya Beda Beda Tattva in Madhva's Bhagavat Parya. So I'll just explain. Achintya Beda Beda means simultaneously different and one, and incompletely simultaneously different and one. Everything, animate and inanimate, is simultaneously one and different from Krishna. It's one because it's all his energy. It's different because he's separate, individually separate. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself visited Udupi, the seat of Madhva's sect. The Lord introduced Harinam Sankirtan into their sect. The Madhvas and the Gaudiyas share many of the same philosophical points. Both consider it necessary to surrender to the lotus feet of the Guru Padashraya. In Sutra Bhashya, Madhvacharya cites the Brihat Tantra and the Mahasamhita to show that a disciple may reject a bogus guru who proves to be useless. He may then accept another qualified self-realized person as his guru. In Prameya Ratnavali, Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan summarized the 9 principles common to both Sri Chaitanya's and Madhva's teachings. In Vaishnava Siddhanta Mala, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas to carefully observe the 9 instructions of truth given by Sri Madhvacharya through our Guru Parampara. And here is Madhvacharya's 9 principles. 1. Bhagavan Sri Krishna alone is the supreme absolute truth, one without a second. I have no argument with that one. 2. He is the object of knowledge in all the Vedas. 3. The universe is real, Satya, because impersonalists say it's not. Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. Does all this feel like it's false? No, it's not. 4. The differences between Ishvara, God, Jiva, soul, and matter are real. 5. Jiva souls are by nature the servants of the Supreme Lord Hari. 6. There are 2 categories of jivas, the liberated and illusioned. 7. Liberation or moksha means attaining the lotus feet of Bhagavan Krishna. In other words, attaining an eternal relationship of service to the Supreme Lord. So, from Bhagavatam we learn, what is mukti? Hitpa anyata rupam swarupena vivastiti. to give up all these other forms, in other words, in material forms we've had since time immemorial, and be situated in our Swarup, our original loving service to Krishna in our eternal form. That's the same thing. 8, pure devotional service to Krishna is the only way to attain this liberation. And 9, the truth may be known by pratyaksha, direct perception, anuman, inference or logic, and shabda, spiritual sound or Vedic authority. And the most important of those is, of course, shabda. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 23rd day of October, 2023, in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace HG Dravida Swami Prabhupada. Canto 7, The Science of God. Chapter 2, Hiraṇyakaśipu, King of the Demons. Text number 9. Tasmin kute ahite nashte krita mule vanaspatao vitapa iva shushyanti Vishnu prana divaukasaha tasmin kute hite nashte krita mule vanaspatao vitapa iva shushyanti Vishnu prana divaukasaha tasmin kute hite nashte krita mule vanaspatao vitapa iva shushyanti Vishnu prana divaukasaha tasmin kute hite nashte krita mule vanaspatao vitapa iva shushyanti Vishnu prana divaukasaha tasmin kute hite nashte krita mule vanaspatao vitapa iva shushyanti Vishnu prana divaukasaha tasmin kute hite nashte krita mule vanaspatao vitapa iva shushyanti Vishnu prana divaukasaha tasmin kute hite nashte krita mule vanaspatao vitapa iva shushyanti Vishnu prana divaukasaha. Veera, you want to try? Tasmin kute hite nashte krita mule vanaspatao vitapa iva shushyanti Vishnu prana divaukasaha tasmin kute hite nashte krita mule vanaspatao vitapa iva shushyanti Vishnu prana divaukasaha tasmin kute hite nashte krita mule vanaspatao vitapa iva shushyanti divaukasaha tasmin kute hite nashte krita mule vanaspatao vitapa iva shushyanti Vishnu prana divaukasaha. Zoom land. Anyone on Zoom?
Tasmin kute hite nashte.
Tasmin kute hite nashte.
Krita mule vanaspatao.
Krita mule vanaspatao.
eva sushyanti
Vitapa eva shishyanti
Vishnu prana devaukasha.
Vishnu prana devaukasaha. Tasmin, when he, kute, the most deceitful, ahite, enemy, nashte, is finished, kritamule, having its roots cut off, vanaspatao, a tree, vitapaha, the branches and leaves, eva, like, shushyanti, dry up, Vishnu pranaha, whose life is Lord Vishnu, divaokasaha, the demigods. Translation. So Hiraṇyakaśipu says, when the root of a tree is cut and the tree falls down, its branches and twigs automatically dry up. Similarly, when I have killed this diplomatic Vishnu, the demigods for whom Lord Vishnu is the life and soul will lose the source of their life and wither away. Purport. The difference between the demigods and the demons is here explained. The demigods always follow the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas the demons simply plan to curb or kill him. Nevertheless, sometimes the demons very much appreciate the full dependence of the demigods upon the mercy of the Lord. This is indirect glorification of the demigods by the demons. Text 10. Tavad yata bhuvam yuyam brahma chatta sameditam sudiyadvam tapo yagya svadhyaya vatadaninaha. While I am engaged in the business of killing Lord Vishnu, go down to the planet Earth, which is flourishing due to Brahminical culture and a Kshatriya government. These people engage in austerity, sacrifice, Vedic study, regulative vows, and charity. Destroy all the people thus engaged. Purport. Hiraṇyakashipu's main purpose was to disturb the demigods. He planned first to kill Lord Vishnu, so that with Lord Vishnu's death, the demigods would automatically weaken and die. Another of his plans was to disturb the residents of the planet Earth. The peace and prosperity of the residents of Earth and all the other planets were maintained by the Brahmins and Kshatriyas. The Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita 4.13, Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha. According to the three modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, the four divisions of human society were created by me. On all the planets there are different types of residents, but the Lord recommends, referring especially to the planet Earth, which is inhabited by human beings, that society be divided into four varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Before the advent of Lord Krishna on this earth, it is understood that the earth was managed by the Brahmins and Kshatriyas. The duty of the Brahmins is to cultivate shamaha, peacefulness, dhammaha, self-control, titiksha, tolerance, satyam, truthfulness, shaucham, cleanliness, and arjavam, simplicity. And then to advise the Kshatriya kings how to rule the country or planet. Following the instructions of the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas should engage the populace in austerity, sacrifices, Vedic study, and adherence to the rules and regulations established by Vedic principles. They should also arrange for charity to be given to the Brahmins, sannyasis, and temples. This is the godly arrangement of Brahminical culture. People are inclined to offer yajna because unless sacrifices are offered, there will be insufficient rain, yajnat bhavati parjanya, which will hamper agricultural activities, parjanyat annasambhavaha. By introducing Brahminical culture, therefore, a Kshatriya government should engage people in performing yajna, studying the Vedas, and giving charity. Thus the people will receive their necessities for life very easily, and there will be no disturbances in society. In this regard, Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 3.12, Ishtan bhogan nibodeva dasyante yagyabhavitaha tayadattana pradayabhyo yobhankte stena evasaha. In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of yajna or sacrifice, supply all necessities to man. But he who enjoys these gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. Close quote. The demigods are authorized supplying agents who act on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Therefore, they must be satisfied by the performance of prescribed yajnas. In the Vedas, there are different kinds of yajnas prescribed for different kinds of demigods, but all are ultimately offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For one who cannot understand what the Personality of Godhead is, sacrifice to the demigods is recommended. According to the different material qualities of the persons concerned, different types of yajnas are recommended in the Vedas. Worship of different demigods is also on the same basis, namely according to different qualities. For example, the meat-eaters are recommended to worship the goddess Kali, the ghastly form of material nature, and before the goddess, the sacrifice of animals is recommended. But for those in the mode of goodness, the transcendental worship of Vishnu is recommended. Ultimately, all yajnas are meant for gradual promotion to the transcendental position. For ordinary men, at least 5 yajnas, known as Pancha Mahayajna, are necessary. One should know, however, that all the necessities of life that human society requires are supplied by the demigod agents of the Lord. No one can manufacture anything. Consider, for example, all the eatables of human society. These eatables include grains, fruits, vegetables, milk, and sugar for the persons in the mode of goodness, and also eatables for the non-vegetarians, such as meats, none of which can be manufactured by men. Then again, take for example, heat, light, water, and air, which are also necessities of life. None of them can be manufactured by human society. Without the Supreme Lord, there can be no profuse sunlight, moonlight, rainfall, or breeze, without which no one can live. Obviously, our life is dependent on supplies from the Lord. Even for our manufacturing enterprises, we require so many raw materials like metal, sulfur, mercury, manganese, and so many essentials, all of which are supplied by the agents of the Lord with the purpose that we should make proper use of them to keep ourselves fit and healthy for the purpose of self-realization, leading to the ultimate goal of life, namely liberation from the material struggle for existence. This aim of life is attained by performance of yajnas. If we forget the purpose of human life and simply take supplies from the agents of the Lord for sense gratification and become more and more entangled in material existence, which is not the purpose of creation, certainly we become thieves, and therefore we are punished by the laws of material nature. A society of thieves can never be happy, for they have no aim in life. The gross materialist thieves have no ultimate goal of life. They are simply directed to sense gratification, nor do they have knowledge of how to perform yajnas. Lord Chaitanya, however, inaugurated the easiest performance of yajna, namely the Sankirtan yajna, which can be performed by anyone in the world who accepts the principles of Krishna consciousness. Hiraṇyakaśipu planned to kill the inhabitants of earth so that yajna would stop and the demigods being disturbed would die automatically when Lord Vishnu, the Yageshwar, was killed. These were the demoniac plans of Hiraṇyakaśipu, who was expert in such activities. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes to the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. Do we have a draft coming in from somewhere? It's gotten quite cold. Yes, we can close that door, please. Or maybe I can take this off. Hare Krishna. It won't be long where we're pushing that heat button. Okay, so quite a long purport dealing with the different elements of varnashram and the importance of sacrifice in order to propitiate the demigods, so they'll supply everything. But as I was reading this, I was thinking, Prabhupada, sometimes, this is quite an extensive one, gave a description of the varnashram. Dharma, he wanted us to establish varnashram, at least in examples like on farms and things like that. But the whole thrust of the Hare Krishna movement is that, and Prabhupada sometimes says it's impossible, to really establish it broadly in society, again, at this point, is that from the very beginning, when we get the instructions of Narada Muni to Vyasadeva in the 5th chapter, which was cited last night, that was referring to one of those instructions. One of those verses says, Tyaktva swadharmam chadanam bhajan hader bhajanna pakvo tapate tato yadi yatra kava badram abudha mushikim ko varta apto abhajatam swadharmataha. So this verse, which Prabhupada would often quote, if one gives up one's duties within Varnashram and joins the Hare Krishnas, becomes a full-time devotee and really not so much concerned about these divisions, and Taktva Swadharmam and Charanambhajang Hare, taking shelter of the lotus feet of Hari. Taktva Swadharmam Charanambhajang Hare Bhajan Apakva, and is worshipping the Lord, but the worship is not completed. One doesn't succeed in one lifetime in becoming completely pure and go back to Godhead. That's what this apakvo. It's not completely cooked, not well done. Apakvo tapate tato yadi, and it falls away from the practice of Krishna consciousness. And in the history of this movement, we've seen that happen. Unfortunately, it's not easy to just stay with the Krishna consciousness year after year after year after year. There's often things that are challenges that people find difficulty meeting. What is there any loss? What's the loss? After all, Krishna says right in the second chapter, there's no loss or diminution in this process because it's spiritual assets that you're accumulating. And they don't die with the body. All of your material assets obviously stay with the body. You may have a big bank account, but then your signature on there belongs to your body. You no longer have that body, so the money stays in the bank to be, as Prabhupada said, quote, to be enjoyed by someone else. So all of your material so-called assets, which are really illusory and are like really a grunty, those are things that keep you bound to this world, to come back again, to try to enjoy similarly, you lose that at death. As Krishna famously says, who can quote the Sanskrit? Death, as death? I take everything away? No. Mrityu sarvaharashchaham, in the 10th chapter, thank you. So Prabhupada would sometimes focus on this and says, the atheists, they don't believe in God, you know, but they get to see God at death. The devotees who are worshiping the beautiful form of the Lord, if they're pure, then Krishna will reveal himself fully to them while they're still living. So they're not, but everyone gets to see God. It's not that, because people would often ask Prabhupada, can you show me God? You know, and he would inevitably ask, do you have the eyes to see God? You know. So, so this verse at the right at the beginning of Bhagavatam, 5th chapter, Narada Muni is saying that all those books he wrote, and you know, the strict books, Karma Kanda, and all those books, that's why you're unhappy, because you're preaching the importance of these rituals and things that don't have anything to do with pure devotion to Krishna. But that's what really the living entity needs. That will give him full success going back to Godhead. So you write a book that's wholly and solely dealing with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his devotees and his devotional service, and then you'll be satisfied. And that's the Srimad Bhagavatam, the crown jewel of all the Vedic literatures. So I was thinking of this. This comes up again in the Bhagavatam, in many places, and especially in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where the whole thrust, and the thrust of Prabhupada's movement is, everyone is eligible, right? Namnamakari Bahodani Dasavar Tatravidaniamatak Smadanena Kala. You have many different names, O Krishna, and there's no hard and fast rules for chanting them. There's no restriction as time, place, and candidate. That's why Prabhupada felt he could come to the depths of Kali Yuga in the middle of New York City, far, far from the Vedic culture, you see? And if we could get somebody to hear and take up the chanting seriously, then they could be purified and the movement will grow from there. This is Lord Chaitanya's movement. And that's very, and famously, he probably would quote this verse all the time, Kirata Hunanda Pulinda Pulkasha. This is spoken by Sukadeva Goswami. He has a wonderful set of prayers before he begins elaborating on his instructions to Perkit in the second canto, and this is one of the most famous. Kirata Hunanda Pulinda Pulkasha Abir Shimba Javanakasharya. These are all lists of people completely outside the Vedic culture, and basically completely outside of India. I became very familiar with the Kasa. The Kasas are the Mongolians and the Chinese, and those probably those who don't grow mustaches. You want to define them that way? I don't know. But Prabhupada famously told Tamal Krishna, you got to go preach in China now. And he came up with all kinds of reasons why it's impossible. This was the height of the Mao era and the Cultural Revolution and everything. China was just impossible. But Prabhupada didn't think it was impossible. And eventually Tamal took it up and it succeeded. There's a very, very robust representation there. But every year when I was working on the Vyasa Puja book, because they would outlaw, they were against the devotees. They weren't suppressing them completely, but they were watching them very carefully. And I don't think there was any public Harinam going on. You can, in the home, you can do it like that, So, when they would write in their Vyasa Puja offering, they said, don't put China on there, You can just put Kashadesh. The devotees will know what that means, and the police won't, supposedly. And we did that for years. But then, recently, there was a certain period where it became a little bit slacker. The Tiananmen Square thing that happened, that kind of put the thing back on it. But there was a lot of agitation for freedom, and at that time we were doing Harinams in the street, in the parks. So then we had China, then again we had to go back to Kashadesh. But the Kasha races, the Hunas, which I think are the Huns, the Germans, all over Europe, you can find these. But this verse says, and other sinful races, and anyone, basically anyone, who takes shelter of someone who's taken shelter of Krishna. That's the thing. Shuddhanti, they become purified. This is the whole idea, is that the soul is innately pure. But because we become entangled in this series of material bodies, all those other bodies, the lower animals and things, there's no question of purification. But the human body is such that it's a great gift. If you follow the process of devotional service, then you can become purified of all of these unwanted desires and sinful reactions and everything like that. That's why Krishna's promise is so important in the Bhagavad Gita. Sarvadhamam padachijya mame kam charanam maja aham tvam savapapaya mokshiyasami mashita. Don't worry. This beautiful, just to let you know this, abhaya dan mudra. This mudra means a hand gesture. We use them all the time, but there's many in the culture. So this is one of them. Radharani's standing there. Don't worry. Don't worry. You just surrender. Just love us. Everything will be okay. So that assurance is there that by Krishna, you just surrender unto me. I will eradicate all your sinful reactions, all your attractions. And you surrender, and then you will become attracted to me, and that will give you vairagya from all of this material things, and you'll be free and come back to me. So that doesn't, he doesn't say, oh, you're a Shudra, forget it, it's only for Brahmins. No. Just a few verses earlier, he says, how's it? How's it start? 32. The women, Vaishyas, Shudras, Papas, they also come to me, starts? Yeah, well, how's it start? How's it? Mamupecha, I'm sorry. Not as Mamupecha. Anyway, one who surrenders unto me, whether he be, and this is important because there's going to be a difference in this translation, this is completely approved. Prabhupada did not say sinful, that's sinful. And here's some examples. Women, Vaishyas, and Shudras. Because the word is Papa Yoni. Mami parta vipashyata. Mami parta vipashyata yepisiu Papa Yonia, striyo Vaishyas tata Shudras tepi yanti param gatim. So Mama page, how's it go? Mamhi parta. Oh parta, oh Arjun. Vipashyata, those who take full shelter of me. And then he gives a list. Papayoni, the Kirata, Hunanda, those are all the out antajas. They're born in sinful wombs. They're born, and they're raised that way. It's like Hiraṇyakaśipu. Of course, he has a backstory. He's Jaya Vijay, but he's a Daitya, right? He's the son, one of the sons of Diti, and there's a whole race there of demons, and Hiraṇyakaśipu and Hiraṇyakshipu the first. So, and just what he's saying here, he's got this demonic, through and through. So, But even he's not about to surrender, at least not voluntarily. But but even if someone is born in a demonic family, raised that way. I mean, I was born that way. My parents, raised as a communist. What is that, But anyway, so Papa Yoni, and then Striyo Vaishya. The ladies are there because traditionally in the Vedic culture, they don't have any opportunity to chant the Vedics, and so it's said to be impure. And then the Vaishyas, now the Vaishyas, they can get a sacred thread. So there's no way they're Papa Yonis. They can get initiation. And then the Shudras, of course, they can be pious also, but they're generally uncultured, But even they, if they surrender unto me, they also go back to Godhead. They come to me. Yanti Deva. What to speak of the Brahmins? In the next verse he goes and he culminates with Manmanabha Bhakto and Sarvadharma Parityajya. This is the culmination of the whole Gita. So that's the central theme of Lord Chaitanya's movement. Everybody is eligible. My name will be glorified throughout the entire world. Well, that means Africa, it means China, it means India, and everywhere. If you somehow or other take up the process of chanting, main jagya, this jagya thing is so important here, right? That's the Sankirtan jagya for the age. Then everything becomes auspicious in your life. If you have masses of people chanting, then the material will be taken care of. People will be satisfied living simply and purely off the land. The problem comes when you have these material desires and you don't have the understanding and the teachings, then that just expands unlimitedly, and you have people dreaming about winning the lottery. There's $1 billion, and giving their hard-earned money, paying, and then you have these guys who are somehow at the top, famous, the head of Amazon and Exxon and all these people, multi-billions, and their whole purpose in life, as was explained. Who was talking about Exxon? Maharaj was mentioning about Exxon. So the whole reason they've come to the top and control that, because their entire focus is on how can we maximize the money, the value of the stock. So as soon as their scientists told them, hey, these carbon dioxide that we're pouring in with the burning of these fossil fuels, gasoline and everything else, this is going to produce havoc in the environment. So they immediately think, well, how can we avoid this, impinging on our bottom line? Well, the first thing is we'll just hire our own scientists to say that, well, to cast doubt in it, on the whole idea, And that's what they did, just like the smokers, the tobacco companies. It's demonic. It's demonic. You have a deadly disease or deadly danger coming, and your whole response is to convince people it's not coming, so that you can have a few more years of accumulating billions of dollars. And what could be more demonic than that? So that's the situation you're in, and in this, it's going to probably sometimes it's very hard, impossible to reinstitute Varnashram Dharma, even in India, because they've also been infected with this whole idea, just let's make a lot of money, like that. So what's the answer? The only answer is the holy name. So powerful. The whole movement is centered on that. No prerequisite. Come and join. We're sitting in the Bowery, or we're sitting in Vrindavan. Chant Hare Krishna. It's universal. And why is it so powerful? Because Krishna's there. What is that famous verse? This one I know. Namachintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purnak Shuddho Nityamukto Abhinadvanamano. So he's describing the holy name, Nama Chintamani Krishna. It's like a Chintamani gem. Why is it like a Chintamani gem? Because the Chintamani gem transforms whatever it touches. You touch the holy name with your consciousness. You may not be chanting purely, but somehow or other you're chanting, you're hearing, to whatever degree. If you're chanting sincerely, then that name will transform your consciousness. The first thing it does is attract you to know more about this, Krishna, whose mantra this is, And you get a book, you can read the Bhagavad Gita, and so many people, you become interested, because the thing is your intellect has to be fed. You have to have the intelligence and knowledge that's coming. Because how to control the body and the mind are many millions of years steeped in materialism, and there's vestiges of that in our mind, and therefore there's always going to be difficulties, as you try to go on this path, which is directly against materialism. You're going against the grain. So you need all the weapons you can get, and one of the main weapons is knowledge, real knowledge that you have faith in. Okay, if I just chant this, if I just do this, and I'll get protection from Krishna, let me give up that idea, and stick with the program, the do's. It's basically the do's and the don'ts, the do's and the don'ts. So that's why Prabhupada was so adamant about the knowledge. So happy. I have a picture on my desk of Prabhupada getting the first copy of the Macmillan Gita, the unabridged Gita, which had all his purports in it. Oh, he's smiling from ear to ear. One of those oceanic smiles. So happy. I think he's holding it to his head. And that became the Bible. This kind of Bible. Devotees would read, study, memorize. Prabhupada was always quoting from Gita, and then you can finally find that. So he knew, and he sacrificed so much to give the knowledge, to sleep. You can imagine trying to write these volumes of books while traveling all over the world. Incredible. Get up at 12 at night, and work in the quiet morning, when no one is awake, produce these books. And, as being part of the book production team for so many decades, because of the way because he was in such a time was a limit. He knew they had so many years. He had to produce this vast library of knowledge. So the only way to do it, if he had produced the books as is done in academia or is done in the commercial books, and you write the book, you don't even show it to anyone else. Nowadays, of course, it's on a computer. You read it yourself, make tons of corrections, and then you have another draft. Finally, you bring it to as far as you can. You give it to the editor. The editor has so many corrections, suggested corrections, revisions. He sends it back to you. You go through and approve or reject those corrections. Some you negotiate, no, it should be like this. And finally, you come up with the printing text, the text that you're going to give to the publisher. And as part of the contract is that they say, we're going to produce it every dot, every period, comma, and word, you see? In other words, if we find a mistake, we don't change it. It's too late, Actually, they give you one final look over, which they did with Prabhupada's first canto. When that book was produced timidly. It was more traditional. He gave it into the printer. Printer gave him back a proof. Prabhupada went over it, corrections. And then a proof, I think, 2 or 3 times, And finally, it came to Prabhupada's, okay, print it this way. And interestingly enough, because this is what I live with all the time, Prabhupada, of course, as in all of his books, he quotes the Bhagavad Gita. In that, there was no diacritics in the first printing, Bhagavad Gita, he called it. Sometimes Sri Bhagavad Gita. It was always the Bhagavad Gita, or sometimes Sri Bhagavad Gita. 99% of the time, he made sure that the was in there. But when he's typing, and when he's dictating especially, he's going to, he can leave the da out. Doesn't have to be there. Everyone knows what it is, right? But that came into the book, into so many books, and we have it, Bhagavad Gita. So it's like if someone is talking about Christianity, says, yeah, I read Bible. I read Bible here and read it. Doesn't that sound weird without the da? That's an honorific, just like Srimad is an honorific. We don't have to say the Srimad Bhagavatam. Just Srimad Bhagavatam is sufficient because Srimad serves that honorific point. But that's not, no devotees know it that way. But I'll be honest with you, all the books I revised before there was a committee to check everything I was doing. Isha Upanishad, Krishna book, Chaitanya Charitamrita, I put the das in. It's all the Bhagavad Gita. No one said, what is that da in there for? It sounds right, doesn't it? Anyway, I just let you know. But Prabhupada's means of the point is the way he was producing the books, he was relying heavily on the transcribers who also made mistakes, the proofreaders, the editors, and so forth. And therefore, to this day, we're still, trying to perfect them so that we get a final version. But in any case, we have the books. That's the point. These wonderful books that if you read them and you study them and you actually try to live by them, then you'll be on the auspicious path. And you can defend yourself from Maya's wiles, you know. She tries to pull you in this way, that way, if she can, you know. And if you, sometimes, you know, you get discouraged because you couldn't give this up, that up, I can't do this. And so that discouragement itself is one of her ways of trying to get you to give up Krishna consciousness. And again, go out and, you know. So the point is that, yes, varnashram is important. It's created by Krishna. It's a wonderful way, the best way of organizing society. But for the practical reasons, for now, we're doing something different. And just one final point on this, and then we can have a little discussion if you want to. At the end of the Bhagavatam, that verse that you quoted, Tad Bhagavatam, it's repeated. It's repeated in a series of 8 verses. It's all about the glories of hearing and chanting. And it repeats the 3 verses, the 3 most famous ones. The famous pilgrimage of crows, that comes first. Then Tad Bhagavatam. But on the other hand, as Prabhupada says, those words which every verse could be miscomposed. Because the first one says, even though every verse is beautifully put together, Nayadvichat Chitrapadang means beautiful Sanskrit, you know, but there's no hint of glorification of Krishna. What is it compared to? Crows. Pilgrimage of crows. Yes, a garbage heap, you know. Now I saw some commentary that he was saying, of course it's not, that everything you wrote before is like that garbage heap. But of course it's not really. He's got the Bhagavad Gita, you know, in the Mahabharata and all those Puranas. I mean, the Padma Purana is very much about Krishna. But the thing is that there's all these other elements in there. You read the Mahabharata and there's so much that's not about bhakti. I'd like to give this little story, it's getting late, but there was a time, you may remember, when we were planning to print the Bhagavatam. Maharaj was translating it. Vidyananda Maharaj. And so we got through the Adi Kanda. This is the Adi Kanda. Mahabharata is much bigger than the Bhagavatam even. And so I was working on the Adi Kanda, and it's like 70, 80 chapters, you know. Not as long as Bhagavatam, but... and one of those chapters was about a planet near the bottom of the universe that's occupied by snakes. I think Vasuki is the main, you know, he's this famous snake. He's used, anyway. But the whole chapter was just naming the snakes. The leading snakes on that chapter, in that chapter. And my job was just to check the diacritics, you know. I spent all this time. I said, I can understand why we're not, you know, recommended to read the whole Mahabharata. There's even a section in the first canon where, oh, you know, it's written for those who can't study the Vedas, you know. Not necessary. Bhagavad Gita, yes, you know. And we wanted to get the story. Krishna Dharma has nicely made a nice little, you know, summary of it and get the plot. But anyway, and so much of the Vedic, you know, the early Vedas, the Karma Kanda, we don't need to read it. You don't have to become well-versed in the Rig Veda, you know. But it is important to become well-versed in the Bhagavatam, which gives you the essence of all of them, you know. And so in this, I called it the Krishna Katashtaka. And there's 2 verses at the end. And one of them says, oh yeah, Yashakshiyam eva padishamak paro varnashama charata pakshutarishu avismati shrirada pada padmayo. I forget. Oh yeah. I forget the last line. It says, so by working, perfecting your life in Varnashram Dharma and all of these rituals and the sacrifices according to the Vedas, the best thing you get is fame and wealth and maybe go to the heavenly planets. You're not going back to Godhead with that, you know, in the materialistic parts of the Vedas. So it's a lot of effort, basically, to stay where you are, and you're not making any progress. On the other hand, avismati Krishna badada, but you come to the point of remembering, you know, but by chanting and worshiping Krishna solely, hearing and chanting basically, you come to the point of avismati shrirada pada padmayo. constant remembrance. Avismriti means never forgetting. It's more important than remembrance, because we're all remembering Krishna, but then we're forgetting him. That's why we're not crying as soon as we chant Hare Krishna. So, but here it says avismriti means not forgetting, constant remembrance. And then the last verse is all about that constant remembrance, which is the fruit of dedicating yourself to the 9 processes of bhakti, headed by hearing, chanting, and remembering. So it says, avismriti Krishna badara vindayo chinoti badhani chashantanoti sattvasya shuddhim padamatma bhaktim jnanam cha vijnana viraga yuktam. And this is a verse Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati would often quote, that comprises the fruits of hearing and chanting. So from that constant remembrance of Krishna, here are the benefits. Chinotya badhani, everything inauspicious in your life is destroyed. Shang tanoti, this word shang is there in the word Shankar, which is a name of Shiva. Is good fortune, welfare, everything auspicious. Sham tanoti, and provides, flooded with good fortune. Your life is, by constant remembrance of Krishna's lotus feet. And then he goes on, sattvasya shuddhim, purification of one's existence, padamatma bhaktim, devotional service to the Supreme Person, which is characterized by jnana, vijnana, and vairagya. Knowledge, realized knowledge, vijnana, scientific knowledge, and detachment from everything else. So that's what we're looking for. Whatever qualities you have, Brahminical or this or that, use them in Krishna's service. Don't worry about, where you stand on the hierarchy of varnashram. We're not into that. Especially, we're the highest devotee thing, dasa anudas. The humble position. That's the most auspicious and powerful position to be in. To really feel oneself helpless without Krishna and call out to him at every second. Please save me, please, Prabhupada's standing in front of the deities, praying ardently, and the devotee, Prabhupada, what are you praying for? I'm praying for that I don't fall down. Prabhupada, you can't fall down. He said, I know, because I'm always praying that I won't fall down. So that's the idea. That's why you chant 24 hours a day. Well, how do you do that? But they always being in that position of feeling dependent on Krishna, as Prabhupada talks so much in his purport, that every moment, just to breathe. Didn't we learn that from the pandemic? we have it all together, that you can hardly breathe. And what does everything else mean? That the air, the oxygen, and the ability to breathe it in and sustain your body is all a gift of Krishna. Yes, through the agency of the demigods, but we don't concern ourselves separately with the demigods. That one more verse, and that is this famous one. Many know it. Yatatado nishechere natripyanti tatskanda buddho bhashaka prano paharat shayatendriyanam tataiva sarvahanamachiteja. Just like watering the root of the tree, all the branches and the fruits and the leaves become nourished, and simply by eating food in the stomach, all the body becomes nourished. Similarly, by worshiping Achyuta, by worshiping Krishna, all the demigods become satisfied and they provide everything. You don't have to worship them separately. That's given. Krishna says, and sometimes he'll personally carry it, right? Yoga Chema Bahamyaham, that famous story, but those who are constantly thinking of me. So that should be our main concern, becoming advanced in devotional service, surrendered, and then everything will be provided. And our yajna will be taken care of with that main yajna, Sankirtan yajna. Any questions, comments? I know it's a little late.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, you're in the line, but we have a local here, a couple of local questions.
Yes, I can wait, no problem.
Okay, here you go.
Thank you so much for class. I have a question. What does not allow to us to cooperate? Because of everyone, I think, in our movement knows that Srila Prabhupada in the last before departure,
your love will be shown.
Yes. And I thought about it, and now during lecture I remember that. No, you some few times emphasize that Sankirtana Yagya should be done, and Sankirtana Yagya, like I understand, this is not individual practice. It's not individual practice. Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas emphasize it, that this is, we should be in society and we should be cooperate, how to understand.
Yeah.
And what doesn't allow us to cooperate?
What's preventing us from doing Harinam? What did you say? Yeah, I can see this is, a main concern of yours, and it's important. That the beating heart of the whole movement is Harinam Sankirtan. There's no question about it. And one of the effects of that, as you point out, is that we establish a nice relationship between each other. Especially when you go out, right? I mean, I remember when I joined, I went out 3 hours a day. That was the standard. It was a great blessing, And because you're out there, it could be 4 or 5 of you, it could be 10, it could be 100, but however many it is, you're outnumbered by the ocean of Maya out there, right? But you're feeling the protection, and you're also feeling that you're helping them to, by chanting. So if you understand what you're doing, and you also see that, oh, here's my god brothers, god sisters, and we're on the same page, and it cements the relationship. And also the class and sharing realization. I remember every day we used to have reading Krishna book. We'd read Krishna book and take milk before taking rest. The whole idea is it's scientific. Maybe you'll dream of Krishna. You read these wonderful stories. But just sharing those things is that you see each other. Oh, these are my wonderful friends, and they're helping me be Krishna conscious. I can help them be Krishna conscious. We're all taking shelter under Krishna's lotus feet. So and in that way the cooperation mood is there. In other words, you want to see devotees doing their service, and you're willing to help them if they need it. So it is those two things. I regard Harinam Sankirtan, whether it's in the temple but especially outside, as the essence of hearing and chanting. Is the essence of hearing and chanting. But it also expands where you can read together, you can share verses together, you can get together. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido. It builds a wonderful esprit de corps amongst devotees. And of course, all of these material designations, they're just blown off. It doesn't matter. Someone's dancing and chanting, oh, he's a Shudra, he shouldn't dance like that. No, it's like that. Actually, the Shudras are usually pretty good at dancing. They have a better physical body. But the point is, it just blows away all of these material designations, and you really see each other spiritually. So I agree, and I'm really sorry. The nature of my service now is I don't have a chance to participate in much. And now suddenly they gave me a little bit of a service. We're going to set and print the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita here in North America. We haven't done it since 1975. Now I have to, come up with the final text that will be then put into the thing. Of course, we have it basically, but I have to check it, make sure, all this stuff. So this is one of my services. It's going to take a lot of time. But I'm going to really try to make time to come out, and Harinam more. So thanks for the suggestion. Okay, we have another question here.
Yeah. You mentioned about its importance of fitting the intellect. Fitting the intelligence when it comes to
yes.
Taking shelter and chanting. And I just wanted to ask if you could maybe elaborate a little bit more so we can understand how it corresponds with your chanting, if you would read.
Well, the idea is to hear, Prabhupada's books, to hear the Shastra. And not only to hear, but also to discuss, to really understand. And that's why Prabhupada, he established Bhakti Shastri and all of these things. And I don't think anyone here remembers, maybe you remember, when, oh my God, his name's, the black-bodied devotee who was the head pujari here? Yeah. He forgot his name also. Anyway, he was college educated actually, and he worked to establish a Bhakti Shastri program. It was more or less like a Saturday program. It wasn't just for devotees living in the temple, although some participated. But they have, they set up chairs in here, and they had a whole process. I was privileged to do the Ishopanishad section, they had questions, and so it's very good. I think we should think about trying to do that again. Because it not only engages the devotees in systematically studying, but it also brings outside people in who have interested in the books and maybe have been reading on their own, but the systematic study. And Balaram has been trained. He hasn't been got his training as a teacher, but he took the course, and so he knows how to do it. So that's. The thing is, the more you know that, I never studied it systematically, although I'll tell you a little funny story. Maharaj, in order to get sannyas, he had to be Bhakti Shastri. So he studied, but then to take it, he's not going to take it in a group where, So he had to come over to my place and sit there so I could watch him, make sure he didn't cheat. I was just doing my work, he was doing his work. So, but yes, I took it, Dravida was there, So the thing is, there's a whole formality to it, and it helps you to become well versed and see how so many things are going on in the Shastra you may not have seen, different relationships and themes. So that's your intelligence, and the more that your knowledge, that you're fixed in the knowledge, the more determination you'll be able to have to follow strictly. Understanding, yes, this is what Prabhupada wants, and here's the detriment that comes if I fail to do that, it's really important. And I know in India, in Mayapur, there's very Vihe, Mihe. You remember Janmashtami? Janmashtami founded that one in Mayapur. It was first in Vrindavan, but then Mayapur had. So it's. That's the whole idea. The intelligence becomes strong, and the higher self can control the lower self. When you're confused and doubtful, then it's easy for the mind and senses to drag your consciousness away. It's more easy. Okay, Vijay, you're on.
Yes,
Still there?
Dravida Prabhu. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Thank you very much. You're most kind. Dandavat pranams. Prabhu, in the purport to text 10, the quote is as follows. The quote is related to the ultimate goal of life is liberation from the material struggle for existence. End quote. So based on this quote, my question is, why is it that in the spiritual world we do not struggle for existence? That is my question.
Oh, I thought you had another question. Why don't we have to struggle for existence?
In the spiritual world.
Well, first of all, we don't have a material body. That's but the thing is, Krishna is completely in charge of everything, of every. He's completely in charge down here, but we don't know that and recognize it, so we're competing against him, and that's why we're fighting material energy. There's no material energy there; it's all spiritual energy, and since to get to the spiritual world, to stay in the spiritual world, you have to be completely in tune with Krishna's desires. Your only desire there is to please Krishna. And since he's completely all-powerful and provides everything you need, there's no question of any scarcity or any struggle. The fact that they go out and herd the cows, and everything, it's just a formality. It means that this is an environment which they can enjoy the sakya ras, and also the ras with the cows. Don't forget there's a lot of ras. They're also living beings, fully conscious. So it's a completely different environment. Here you have the contrast between the spirit and the matter. All this matter is superfluous to the soul. We're misidentifying with the material body, obviously. So it's made in such a way there has to be a struggle. You can't be happy here. You can have fleeting pleasures, which is not really happiness, but then it's all destroyed just by time. And so there's no time. Remember that verse at the end of the Brahma Samhita? Not a second passes away. There's only the eternal present. And every day is new. Krishna doesn't get old. You don't get old. You're in your eternal form to serve him. So where is there any problem there? There's no struggle. The only thing is the illusion of struggle. You know, will Krishna come? Oh my God, he hasn't come back yet from the forest. You know, and the gopis and Mother Yashoda are all at the top of the houses. They have a little thing they're watching, and the great anxiety. Then he relieves the anxiety. He finally shows up. You know, Denu vrindamanamanamayantam venu gitam amatam visujantam renu rushitachalakavantam kenu vishasamayo namadantam. Verse from the Govinda Lilamrita describing Krishna's return says Denu Vrind, Krishna is very leisurely walking behind all of the cows, and he's playing the beautiful melody on his flute, nectar. And then all this dust is blowing up and beautifully powdering his hair. And anyone who sees this vision, you know, how could he not attain the highest bliss? Murantam. Where is there any struggle for existence there? You know, you just see Krishna coming. But even if you're on this plane and you're absorbed in chanting and hearing and visualizing that, you're seeing the sight there, then you can not feel the impingement of even the material world. That's the promise. Even in this plane, you can be free from all anxiety and the struggles if you're fully Krishna conscious. Floating along in that ocean of bliss of Krishna prema, you know, which is the goal after all. So that's the answer. The only answer I can give. You know, it's a struggle here, it's artificial here because we need to be punished and reminded we can't be happy here. How can we be happy? Oh, here's this devotee telling me, you're giving me this book, let me try it. And then you're ready to chant Hare Krishna. Just imagine, and I'll end with this, is that if we develop our appreciation for the holy name by purity, and then we can appreciate that verse, Tunde Tandavanida Ting, you know, that the holy name is Ananda Rupam, Jayati Jayati Nama Ananda Rupam, Murari. The name of Murari, this is Sanatana Goswami, practically beginning of the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, is the very form of bliss. In other words, if you're chanting and remembering it, then you're in bliss. So is there anything really stopping us from chanting or even or at least remembering Krishna's holy name? Even as you're passing out of your body, you know, you may not chant, but the devotees will be there chanting or reminding you if you remember the holy name. You'll be in bliss. Not just, oh, what's going to happen to me now? What's my children? No. I've seen so many people die in the hospital. It's horrible, you know, without Krishna consciousness. This was way before I even knew about Krishna. So we don't want to be there, and we've had experience. Even our, you know, God brothers and God sisters here passed away very peacefully. So that's the answer, that the material energy is meant to be a prison, to punish us. Okay, look, we won't really have to quit, it's very late. No. Thank you very much, all glory to Srila Prabhupada. Sorry for going on so long.
What were we going to answer this question?
Yeah, I can answer personally.